Hello and welcome to the Collings Network. It's been a little while since you see me. I'm Curtis Collings, and today we are breaking down Week 1 of the NBA. I'm giving out some awards. I'm giving my top 5 players for each award till the end, and it'll be top 3s because I ran out of energy. But here we are breaking it down. I do have a kitten, so you will hear the occasional toy or whatever. He might come and be on camera. I'll edit it out if I can, but if not, deal with it. So, breaking down the NBA season so far. It's been a really exciting week 1, and we're just going to be covering week 1, everything up until the 29th of October, as that's when the fantasy week ended. The 30th was when the week 2 started. So that's what we're going off of. That's what we're breaking down today, and I have my notes in front of me. So starting off with the MVP award, my number one guy, and maybe the number one guy at the start of every single season, Anthony Davis. Incredible to start the year, an incredible start to the week. Put up 2 30 pieces. In those 30 pieces, he had 16 rebounds, 12 rebounds, and then in his non-30 piece, he had 8 rebounds. In that time, he's had 5 steals and 8 blocks combined. He only put up 17 in game 1, but, only 17 is nothing to scoff at. Other than that, though, he's been incredible. Second player I want to mention is Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He had only 2 games in the first week, unlike Anthony Davis, who played 3, but in his games, he did not disappoint. In the first game, he put up 27, 5, and 6 with 4 steals and a block, leading the Cavs over a win. He had an incredible fourth quarter performance too, which we will touch on later on. In his second game, in a loss, he put up 43, 8, and 5 with 3 steals and 2 blocks. He's been incredible in these 2 games and exactly what the Cavaliers asked for. My third player that I want to mention is Tyrese Maxey. No Harden, no problem for the 76ers right now. They've been playing some incredible basketball. They're 2-1 that first week, and Maxey was really leading the helm, arguably better than Joel Embiid, or at least in my MVP race and my MVPs for week 1. He was better. In his games, he had 2 30 pieces and 26 in the game he didn't put up 30. Maxey he looks to really take over the offense for the 76ers this year, and he looks to be a star in the making. The next player I want to mention is Luka Doncic. Incredible player as always, leading the Mavs to 2 wins in the first week. Both incredible games, exactly what we can expect from Luka Magic. In the first game, he put up 33, 13, and 10 on 52% shooting. And then on the second game, he put up 49, 10, and 7 on 64% shooting. Genuinely incredible. It's up to him and AD to battle it out for who actually gets to win MVP for week 1. The last player I want to give mention to is Tyrese Haliburton. Now, it's more of a low-key pick, more low-key stats. He only played 2 games, led the Pacers to wins in those 2 games, and he put up 20 and 21 points in those games, but he would also drop 11 and 13 dimes in those games. Really leading the Pacers here, and it's exciting what he can be. Moving on now to Defensive Player of the Year. I've had 5 candidates again for who I think could take it for this week. I'm not going to really be picking a player. I'm going to let that be in the hands of you guys watching at home, and we will really come to a decision at the end of the year, but I want to just get together some names that I really think we'll see at the end of the year. So for my depoy, of course, the first player I want to mention for depoy is Anthony Davis. Just incredible. A 13 combined steals and blocks, and that's just on paper. He's the anchor of the Lakers D, and the amount of shots he contests is just incredible. Next player I want to mention is Marcus Smart. While the Grizzlies were 0-3 in week 1, it definitely was not his fault on the defensive side of the floor. They definitely needed something with Ja out, and he's definitely stepping up defensively. In that first game, he put up 2 steals, second game 5, and in the third game 2 steals, as well as 2 blocks in that last game. He's been what I wanted them to be, but they just got to start winning games if I'm going to take them seriously. After that, I want to mention Joel Embiid. Embiid's been really good as well, although I only mentioned Maxey in my MVP. Embiid did have a slow start defensively to the week. He only put up 1 block in his first game, but he would ramp it up after that. In his second game, he would have 1 steal and 2 blocks, and then in game 3, 6 blocks. Definitely a player to look out for. Not a guy that gets a ton of depoy consideration, but definitely a guy that is a monster in the paint. Another player I want to mention, another player from the Grizzlies, is Jaren Jackson Jr. He did the opposite of what Joel Embiid did this year, having a hot start and then kind of tapering off a little bit, but the defensive player from last year would start the season hot with 5 blocks in game 1, followed up by 3, and then having a 1 steal, 1 block performance. Of course, I'm doing a lot of just stat reading and what's on paper here, but all these guys so far affect the court a lot more than just what is on paper here. The last player especially for that is Scottie Barnes. The young third-year player looks to finally step up and take the Raptors somewhere, and he's been the defensive player of the team. It's his specialty at this point, and that hasn't stopped. 5 blocks in game 1, and then he's continued it on in the other 2 games in week 1. Not winning them, but having an incredible week 1 nonetheless. As we move on to talking about the Rookie of the Year, it's really been a 4, somewhat 5-person race, as Scoot Henderson not really joining the race, not shooting the ball too well in that starting point guard spot, and now dealing with an ankle sprain. But I would love to talk about Victor Wembanyama. Of course, we knew he would get talked about, and he would probably be number 1 here, but it's the obvious choice. His first game was pretty good. He looked pretty legit with 15 and 5. Really solid, and then put up 21 and 12 in the second game. As well as 21 and 12, he put up 3 steals and 3 blocks. This guy's the real deal, and he really came out in that second game and showed it. And then in his third game, he had put up 11 and 5. Definitely a very solid week 1, but 2 players specifically are gunning for that Rookie of the Year spot for week 1. This other guy would be Chet Holmgren. Pick 2 of last year's draft is really showing us why this year, missing all of last year, we didn't really get to see much of what he could do, but he's really proving it this year, showing us really hard on the defensive side of the ball, putting up 7 blocks in his second game to go along with 16 and 13, putting up 19 and 4 in the game after that. 2 generational big men, both having their rookie seasons this year. It's going to be really interesting to watch that race. Third player in there that I want to give mention to, but he's playing on a pretty bad team, Brandon Miller. Sadly, I don't get to include his best game in this, which happened the day after, so in week 2 I will be talking about Brandon Miller even more. But in just week 1, he's had some incredible performances. In his first game, he put up 13, 3, and 2. Modest performance coming out the gates. And then in his second game, 17, 6, and 2. Really establishing himself as a player in the league and really showing me a lot of promise and why he was drafted second overall. The last rookie I want to talk about is Asar Thompson. Maybe the strangest rookie in the entire class so far. In his first 3 games, putting up 4 points, 6 points, and 9. But that's not what makes him special. In those same games, he had put up 7, 13, and 12 rebounds to go along with 3, 6, and 5 assists. A strange player and definitely making himself useful as a rookie. And in his first game, 5 blocks. Moving on now to 6th man of the year, we have 5 candidates again. After this, it will go down to 3 candidates, so a little more digestible. I'm doing this based off betting odds, and not really, a lot of these guys could be starting, a lot of these guys could have started in a few games, but I'm just doing this strictly based off betting odds and talking about a few of the guys that top that list. So, the guy that does top the list, quickly. Very strong showing in his first few games, kind of cooled off in the 3rd game of the week, but was incredible nonetheless. In his first game, he put up 24, 6, and 4, and then had an 11, 6, and 6 game. The second player I'd like to mention is Derek White, Maxwell White. In his 2 games in week 1, he definitely overperformed. In his first game, he had 12, 6, and 2, not the overperformance, a solid Derek White game. And then in his second game, 28, 6, and 3. Just capable of going off sometimes, a perfect man for your 6th man. He really lit it up in that second game of the week for the Celtics. Third player I want to mention is CP3. CP3 coming off the bench for the first time in his career, it feels like. I don't know if he was as a rookie, but I know he had a big starting streak. He looked good coming off the bench, I will not lie. In his first game, putting up 14, 6, and 9 with 2 steals. And then in his second game, putting up 10, 12, and 3 steals. And then his third game, last game of the week, putting up 8, 5, and 7. 2 players I'd like to give some honorable mentions to here. Definitely not leading the race, but having very strong starts to the season, Cam Thomas and Malcolm Brogdon. Cam Thomas is just scoring. He's just a scoring machine, and he proved that in the start of the season, putting up 36 and 30. With very few peripherals, I think he had 7 rebounds in that second game, but few peripherals. We'll see what he can do keeping up this scoring. And Brogdon, going behind Scoot and leading that second unit, a guy kind of known for leading second units. In his 3 games this season, he's put up 20 points and 5 assists. He's put up 18 points and 7 rebounds, and an 18, 5, and 5 game. Last categories I want to talk about are Most Improved Player, Clutch Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. For Most Improved Player, the leader is obviously Maxey here. Again, no Harden. We should all be expecting something special here, and that's really what he's given He's been a top 5 player in week 1, and we'll see how he can continue that moving forward. Second player I'd love to give mention to here is Scottie Barnes. Again, in year 3, leading the defense of the Toronto Raptors that are looking to get some wins this season. He's really starting to pick it up on the offensive side of the ball, and we'll see if he could keep that going. If he's able to, there's no reason he shouldn't win Most Improved Player. The last player I want to mention is Cade Cunningham, leading the Detroit Pistons to a 2-1 record in week 1, and coming off an injury last season. It looks like the Detroit Pistons can have something really fun here, and Cade looks to be the leader of that. Moving on to Clutch Player of the Year, De'Aaron Fox is leading it again in my mind. Looking to repeat after last season, he's averaging 12.3 points in the fourth quarter, leading the NBA in week 1. Up next, I want to talk about Luka, the guy coming for that spot this year. Hopefully going to lead the Mavs to a better record and maybe a proper playoff spot. He is second behind Fox in points per game for the fourth quarter, averaging an even 12, which is tied with the third place player here, which is Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell also averaging 12 points in the fourth quarter, would score 10 in a win against the Brooklyn Nets to open the season. Last thing I'd love to talk about is Coach of the Year. I'm going to just talk about the betting odds and how I feel about them so far. The top 5 for Coach of the Year is Mark Daigneault. For the Thunder, he has a plus 600% odds, leading the league, and no reason why he shouldn't. The Thunder look to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs this year with a bunch of young players, and that's really going to come down to what Daigneault can do as a coach and leading that young group. So I love having him be the leader so far. Right behind him, though, Adrian Griffin, coach of the Bucks, at plus 650. This is the guy I assume is going to win it because he's going to probably be coaching the best team in the NBA, if not the best team in the NBA, the best team in the Eastern Conference. With Lillard and Giannis and Chris Middleton, I almost want to put Bobby Portis in there too because that 6-man energy. He really has a lot of work here, but his work is cut out for him with a talented roster. Next coach up is a coach that we're pretty used to seeing, Eric Spoelstra, coach of the Heat. He's at a plus 900 odds. We got a little bit of a drop here, 250. The Heat are in a tough position, not really grabbing a point guard like Damian Lillard in the offseason, and now picking up the scraps here, losing Strus and Vincent. They have to rely on Tyler Hero to play backup point guard minutes, so it'll be up to Eric Spoelstra to get a lot out of this roster. Fourth coach, coach of the Nuggets, Mike Malone. He's at plus 1,000. Coach of the NBA champions last year. No surprise to see him here. We'll see what the Nuggets can do, but I don't think he's going to win Coach of the Year. And the last coach on this list, Nick Nurse, coach of the 76ers, burner account specialist, has a plus 1,000 odds to win it, same as Mike Malone. He's coaching the 76ers with no Harden, so if they make a big jump and have a top 3 playoff seed in the East, I have no doubts that he could get this spot and get the Coach of the Year. But he's got a lot of things going against him, like Joel Embiid's health, and if Tyrese Maxey can be consistent and step up. That's my review so far of week 1 of the NBA season. So far, been a very exciting season, and I'm very excited to have basketball back. So far, it looks like anyone could be taking this MVP, and the parity in the league looks very, very fresh and very nice. We got a lot of super teams, but it feels like a lot of teams could knock them off their block. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.